story, big story. And by little, I don't mean to demean it in any way. Because anybody here read The Fisher Queen?
I just started.
Yeah. Not a little story. No. And for those of you that are not familiar with the narrative, by the way, I have 4 copies for sale, which I'll be happy to autograph for you. The so-called little story is the story of, it's actually brought together 3 years of my experience as one of the only handful of girls, and I mean girl, working as a commercial salmon deckhand in the trolling fleet on the north coast of BC. And that's how I put myself through university. So that's the stage. That was the little story. So when you read about 40-foot waves and 50-mile-an-hour winds and spectacular experiences in that world, in that watery, dangerous, magnificent world, that's still the little story, you know. Because you know what the big story is? Take a guess. The big story is the stage that my little story, my little self, on the deck of that fishing boat. And by the way, this photograph here is taken on the deck of the boat that I was working on. And that's a 52-pound spring salmon. And guess what? You know why you can't catch one of those anymore? Because they're not here anymore. That was 30 years ago. They're not here anymore. You can't catch 52-pound springs anymore. Nobody could have imagined, ever, even only 30 years ago, that that could happen. So somehow, my little story, do you think when I was lying on the bunk, trying to have 3 or 4 hours sleep, wet and cold and, you know, injured and scared out of my freaking mind, but too proud to say, I can't do this? No way. 5-month seasons, 18 or 20 hours a day, 10 or 12 days a time out at sea. Me and the skipper. That was it. I was it. Still a little story, right? Because the big story is what was going on out there. The stage where this was all playing itself out. It was the mid-1980s. And it was at the tipping point of our salmon fishing industry and our marine environment that has changed forever. So that's the big story. Everybody get that? So that's one of the most important things for you to ensure that you know not just your little story, and I don't mean that, you know, sarcastically or demeaningly, but your personal story set in the big story. So you are a character on that great stage. Yeah? So when you can ground it, what I refer to when I teach, ground it in time and place and person and context. When are we? Where are we? Who are we? And what are we? Does that make sense? Yeah. So, little story, big story. So there's lots of details. There's lots of details, even outside of what it's like to work on a fishing boat. Anybody here worked as a deckhand on a fishing boat? Anybody know how a salmon actually gets from the Queen Charlotte Straits onto your barbecue? Do you know how that happens? Read the book. So lots of learning, lots of informing going on. But it's like weaving a tapestry. You're weaving these threads or braiding hair. Anybody here ever played around with wool, like carded wool? I mean, it's nothing. It's just gossamer. It's filaments, right? You can just take it as fluff. You just pull it apart. There's nothing there. There's no strength to it at all. Okay, so what happens is if you work it, you make it into a strand, and then you braid it with 3 other strands. What happens? You can't break it for nothing. But it's all made out of the same filaments, and that's how your life story, your memoir, can be so strong and viable and lasting, is that you are weaving together. Does that make sense to everybody? You're weaving together your story, which is your offering, the bigger world around you that this was all happening yet. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, how are we doing for time? 7? Oh, okay, good. Alrighty. So any questions? I'm going to take a pause for 1 minute. Any questions so far? There's no, I think it's, you know, after 2 hours of yammering away up here, it's very hard to ask people then to start asking questions. So let's have a little teeny question break. So far, how are you doing?
Sleepy.
What's that?
Sleepy.
Sleepy. Oh, I know. I am too. So I had to have a cup of coffee on the way here.
Are you going to cover later a little more detail on how to start your story?
Yes, I sure am.
Okay.
That's
so
next, after this little part.
Okay, I want to ask my
Yeah.
question.
How long did it take you to write your book?
I was in some kind of accelerated process, let me tell you. It's a little bit unusual. Do you want to know how like the Fisher Queen actually came into existence, like physically? Okay, very quick. In my case, I was already pretty much established in the writing world and was writing a lot of articles as a journalist and so on. So I was working my craft like nobody's business. And I worked so hard. I really put everything I had into it to hone my skills and to understand the whole process of creating really good writing, because this thing here about entertain, you can't entertain people with just a sensational story. You entertain people and hold them. You hook them with a great story, but you hold them with good skills.
Is that in detail?
Yeah, and also things like learning your craft. If I sat here and gave everybody in this room a pair of tap shoes and put on some cool tap music. Anybody here taken tap lessons before? If you haven't, excuse the metaphor. But there's going to be people who will just have a natural sense of rhythm, and they're going to clatter around in them, and they'll be keeping time to the music, and they'll be kind of having tremendous fun. Are they tap dancers? Not so much. No. They're expressing themselves creatively with music and taps. And then there'll be people who will just be standing there, absolutely paralyzed, not knowing what to do, and won't do anything. So you see where I'm going all this. But to really be a tap dancer, what do you got to do? Take some tap dancing lessons. It's the same thing with writing. So if you've never taken writing, any kind of writing classes, if this is your first, thank you for having me be your first writing teacher. And keep going and going and going. There is so much out there for you to learn your craft and keep honing your craft, what they call becoming a wordsmith, where you are creating writing. It doesn't happen by chance, that's for darn sure. When the writing is on the page, it's supposed to appear effortless. When you read it, it's effortless. Do you know what the best writing is in the world? Writing that disappears. You don't stop and say, oh wow, what great writing. And then, you know, you forget everything else that's going on. Really skillful writing that carries the reader through the whole story is like a pane of glass. You look through the glass to see that world on the other side. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the way that happens is not from nothing, unless you happen to have fairy godmothers that, you know, sprinkle fairy dust on you every time. You're learning your craft probably your whole life. But, you know, you start and you do another one and you do another one. You learn what makes strong, powerful writing. There's all kinds of things about writing that makes them really good. One of the things, let's do that. Let's make a little list right now. I'll get there. I never